Hello everybody and welcome to a new video on the channel. In today's video we are going to be talking about Childe, aka Tartaglia. We're going to be talking about his talents, his best in slot artifacts, some good 5-star and 4-star weapons for him. We're also going to be talking about if you should pull for him or not, and his rotation, and we will sum up the video with the showcase. Let's jump right into the video. In my opinion, the best thing about Tartaglia is that he's the only character in Genshin that can switch from a bow character to a sword character. So whenever you activate Tartaglia's elemental skill, you're gonna switch from a bow to a double sword. But there is a big problem with that, being whenever you use his elemental skill and you switch back, the cooldown depends on how long you used his elemental skill for. For example, if we use his elemental skill now, we do some attacks, we switch back to other characters, do the rotation, and we switch back to Tartaglia, the cooldown is only 7 seconds, right? But if you use his elemental skill and you keep attacking, you stay in this stance, the double sword stance, for a longer duration, and you will switch back to him, you're gonna notice that the cooldown increases. And this is a really big issue if you're not controlling it well. To prevent this from happening, what you should be doing is using his elemental skill for a short duration, between 6 to 8 seconds, and then switch back to the other characters, do your rotation, and then switch back to Tartaglia. Also, there are two types of burst that he has. The first one is the ranged one using the bow, and the second one is when you are on your elemental skill. They both have a good range on them. The main difference between them is that the first one, the ranged one, applies the Riptide effect to enemies, while the second one, which is when you are on his elemental skill, will activate the Riptide effect. Elemental skill is of course his top priority to level up, and following that is going to be your burst. And then you can level up the normal attacks if you want to. Whenever you activate his elemental skill, you're going to be applying hydro and doing hydro damage to enemies. And whenever you apply on them the Riptide effect, and when you trigger it, it will do hydro damage to opponents. Whenever you hit an enemy that has the Riptide effect on them with a melee attack, the Riptide slash will unleash, dealing AoE hydro damage. And the damage done by that is considered to be elemental skill damage, and it can only occur once every 1.5 seconds. As I mentioned earlier, the longer you use his elemental skill, the longer the cooldown is going to be. And that's really problematic when you are doing content like Abyss or any fight content in the game. So you need to manage that perfectly, otherwise you're just going to be losing a lot of damage. And that's why I would recommend for anyone who needs a hydro DPS to get Ayato instead, because with Ayato you can just keep spamming your elemental skill and the rotation never stops. And you can deal similar damage with Ayato. The main difference between Ayato and Childe is that Childe's elemental burst does really good damage, while Ayato's burst only increases his normal attacks damage and just applies hydro to enemies. So there are some people that like the nuke style on Tartaglia. We will talk about later when we're talking about artifacts and weapons, because there are two types that you can play Tartaglia. The first one is going to be mainly about his elemental skill, and the second one is going to be around his burst. And Tartaglia is one of the best characters currently in the game, like Hu Tao, that can really nuke and do big numbers. Let's talk now about artifacts. The best in slot set for a Childe currently in the game is going to be the Nymph's Dream. The 2-piece gives you plus 15 hydro damage bonus, while the 4-piece increases your attack by 7, 16, and 25%. And it also increases your hydro damage bonus by 4, 9, or 15%. And this effect can be activated by doing normal, charged, or plunging attacks to opponents, or by hitting them by elemental skill or elemental burst. So whenever you hit enemies by a normal, charged, or plunging attacks, all while you are using your elemental skill or elemental burst, you can trigger the effect. Another set that's good with Tartaglia is going to be the Heart of Depth. The 2-piece gives you plus 15 hydro damage bonus, just like the other one, and the 4-piece increases your normal and charge attacks by 30%. So if you haven't found the new set yet, this could be a good placeholder. If you don't have any of the current sets, you can use a 2-piece hydro damage bonus and the 2-piece gladiator or any set that gives you attack bonus. Now let's talk about the substats. For the substats, you should be looking for crit rate, crit damage, attack percentage, elemental mastery, and some energy recharge. Mainly looking for crit damage, crit rate, and attack percentage, because they are the main stats that Tartaglia relies on. Of course, you need a little bit of EM so you can do more vape damage. For the sands, you can either use attack sands or elemental mastery sands, depends on your substats. If you're lacking EM, you can use an elemental mastery sands. If you have enough elemental mastery, then you can just use an attack sands, which is best in slot. And if you want to do nuke damage, you're gonna need an elemental mastery sands for that vape damage. Of course, the substats, crit rate, crit damage, attack percentage, and little bit of energy charge. And the goblet, you need the hydro damage bonus goblet. And for the circlet, you need crit rate or damage depends on your ratio. So if you need a little bit of crit rate, go for crit rate hit piece. If you need crit damage, go for crit damage. And if you want to do nukes with Tartaglia, you're gonna need to use 2-piece set that gives you elemental mastery like Wanderer's Troop, and 2-piece noblesse for that burst damage. I want to talk about his C1 because it's important, because it decreases the elemental skill cooldown by 20% if you want to get that. Now let's talk about Childe's weapons. As any character in the game, his best in slot is going to be his signature weapon, the Polar Star. It has good base attack, it gives you 33 crit rate, plus the passive is really cool because it increases your elemental skill and elemental burst damage by 12%. And after you use normal attack, charge attack, elemental skill, all elemental burst, you can get up to 4 stacks that will boost your attack respectively 10, 20, 30, and 48%. So whenever you use normal attack, charge attack, elemental skill, or elemental burst on opponents, you can activate the weapon's passive. And you can get up to 48% of attack. There are many 5-star weapons that can work with him. Basically, any crit weapon works really good with him. The thunder, if you have the Thunder Impulse, it's a really good weapon on him. If you have the Skyward Harp, it's a really good weapon too, because it gives you crit rate, as well as some crit damage in the passive. I think it gives you 10% at the Refinement 1, but this weapon is the R3, so it gives you 30%. Let's talk now about the 4-star options. The best in slot 4-star weapon for Tartaglia is going to be the R5 Rust. R1 is good, but if you have R5, it's really good because it gives you attack percentage, it has good base attack, and also the passive is really good because it increases your normal attack damage by 80% on Refinement 5 and by 40% on R1. It's a really good weapon on Tartaglia. I would really recommend you build this if you have it. Another good bow that can be used for Tartaglia if you don't have the Rust is going to be the Hamayomi. It's the craftable weapon from Inazuma. You can get it to R5 because this is a free-to-play weapon. Another weapon that is mainly good for nuke teams is going to be the Stringless because it gives you elemental mastery, plus it boosts your elemental skill and elemental burst damage. So if you're only looking to be doing vaporized damage, this could be a good option. And at Refinement 1, it gives you 24% elemental skill and elemental burst damage. Let's talk a little bit about if you should summon for Tartaglia or not. Of course, Tartaglia is coming in the second phase of the 4.0 patch. He's coming alongside Zhongli. I already made a video on Zhongli. If you want to check that out, I will leave that in the description below. Should you be summoning for Tartaglia? Well, if you like the character's playstyle, I think he's really good. You can go for him, but actually not recommend you go for him. Because if you're only looking for damage and you want to have a good character that is versatile and doesn't have elemental skill cooldowns like Tartaglia, Ayato is a really good option because you can always just spam his elemental skill on rotation. The major issue with Tartaglia is going to be his cooldown because it's really long. The more you use it, the longer the cooldown is going to be. If you want to summon for Tartaglia, just keep in mind that you only need to use his elemental skill for about 6 to 8 seconds. Now let's talk about Childe's rotation. You can start with the burst, then go to your supports, use a Bennett, use your Shanling and Kazuha, then go back to Tartaglia, use his elemental skill, do normal or charge attacks for between 6 to 8 seconds, and then switch back to your supports and repeat. Another thing that I forgot to mention is that you can start your rotation by using Tartaglia's burst on his ranged stance because it does not consume all of your energy. It consumes about 60% of it, and it applies the Riptide effect, and you can finish by using his elemental burst while you are on the elemental skill stance, and that will activate the Riptide effect and will deal more damage. And also this is his best in slot team because you're gonna need Shanling, so you can just keep vaping. If you don't have Kazuha, you can replace him with Sucrose. She's a really good character. She's as good as Kazuha, especially if you have her C6. You can also use Tartaglia in a Hyper Bloom team using Tartaglia, Nahida, or Dendro MC if you don't have Nahida, with the Kazuha or Sucrose and then Cookie Shinobu. You can also use Tartaglia in a Taser team, but it doesn't really do good damage. But if you want to try it, you can with Fischl and Beidou. I will leave you now with the showcase of Childe using different weapons just to see how he plays out. I just want to mention that we go live every morning starting from 12 p.m. GMT +1. If you see the stream, please stop by and say hello. We do Abyss help to viewers, we do character reviews, and we do exploration. Basically anything that is related to Genshin. You also have a Discord server that you can join. I will leave a link to it in the description below. You can join us there. That was all for me. I will leave you with the showcase, and I will see you in the next one.
Going in!
One with wind and cloud.
I'm the bright Booba, get! Let's light it up!
Riptide.
Everybody stand back!
Wind strike. Clouds high. The birds.
You're toast!
Time to go.
I'm going in!
You can run, but you can't hide.
Let's light it up! Off we go!
Wind strike. Tidal wave.
Everybody stand! You're toast!
Falling leaves. Adorn my. Couldn't let your guard down. Wind strike.
Adventure! At the right hand! Let's light it up!
One with nature.
Teamwork is dreamwork! You're toast! Don't hit me!
Falling leaves. Adorn my night.
Bound as one. The eternal oasis at long.
Everybody stand back! At the right hand, into the fire! Eat this!
Into the wind. Riptide.
Boba, get...
Wind strike.
I'm going in! You're toast! At the right hand!
As one with wind and cloud. The wind knows me. Tidal wave. Shouldn't let your guard down.
I'm going in!
Wind strike. Fallen leaves. Adorn my.
Boba, get...
You can run, but you can't hide. You're mine.
I was destined for more.
Riptide.
Everybody stand! You're toast!
Clouds high. The birds.
I'm going in!
Clouds high. The birds.
Decided by destiny!
Shouldn't let your guard down.
I was destined for more.